It's time to take your seat in the front row with Mike Vaccaro. Here's your host, Mike Vaccaro.
Hey, thank you, Chuck, and welcome everybody in the front row. I am Mike Vaccaro, your host. Behind the scenes, as always, it's J.R. Quitman, our creator, producer, and director. Well, it's episode number 19 now, and for that, it's a Super Bowl champ. Qadry Ismail grew up in Pennsylvania playing high school football and also running track. Went on to Syracuse University, was an All-American in both those sports as well, before he enjoyed a 10-year career in the NFL as a wide receiver on a number of teams, a number of Hall of Fame teammates and coaches, and he won a Super Bowl in 2000 with the Baltimore Ravens. He shares his story with us here today in episode number 19 of In the Front Row. Kadri, first of all, thanks for spending some time with us here today. Love the hat, represented Syracuse for sure. And we're definitely going to dive into Syracuse, your pro career, you're a Super Bowl champ, and certainly want to talk to you about that. But I want to go back to the beginning for you. You're born in 1970 in Newark, New Jersey, and then moved to Wilkes-Barre. What was life like early on for you in New Jersey and before that time when you transitioned to Pennsylvania? And tell us about sports and how much they were in your life early on.
Well, I think the biggest memory that I had growing up in Newark and my time spent, my brothers and I, was just playing out in, the typical sandlot, kind of a mindset. You have your buddies. We grew up in Section 8 housing called Georgia King Village, and it was really cool because you had your entire community of townhomes where you had so many young people, my age that, you made a ton of friends, and it was really good. And my biggest, fondest memory was just always going out and playing, whether it be basketball, it's time for basketball, whether it be football, it was time for football, whatever the situation or whatever season was in play, that's what we were doing. And really, my first, experience with organized sports was when I played for the Orange Buccaneers in Orange, New Jersey. And I remember, I look back on it now and I laugh because in my mind as a little boy, it felt like what? I don't know, from my house in Newark to Orange Park in Orange, New Jersey must have been at least 8 miles. However, with modern day technology, you Google that thing and it was only like, 2 miles down the road. But, you think that it's like it was forever. And little things along those lines of just my experiences with interacting with different, kids and, just developing a passion to play. And I think that was, the fun of my experiences in my early childhood.
And you mentioned, playing with your brothers as well. You're the middle brother, correct? So you've got your other two brothers, obviously very athletic family. What was it like, and was there a lot of competition among the three of you growing up?
There wasn't necessarily that intense competition that, some people want it to be as far as my brothers and I. I think the main thing for me was, okay, I know I love the game. I love playing games. I love, whatever it might be. We played kickball. We played tag. Heck, my backyard, we had, there was 3 or 4 other families that were they had a lot of girls. So for me, I was learning how to double dutch. I was, enhancing my play by just playing. And, for my brothers and I, if nobody was out there, we were playing with each other. But it wasn't necessarily competitive like this back and forth that I think, some siblings might have had. It was just like, all right, let's go out there and have fun. And that's what we did.
Eventually, again, you moved to Wilkes-Barre. You moved in with your grandmother. Is that the case? And what led to that move? And certainly, it seemed to be a good move for you guys when you look at everything that happened after that, getting recruited, and obviously going on to college from there. But what led to that move, and was it a good move for you?
Yeah, I thought it was a seminal point in my young life. My mom, she was working at Saks Fifth Avenue at the time, and she was just trying to make ends meet, and it was tough. It was tough on her. It was tough on us. She was trying to raise sons that were coming into their own as far as teenagers, and all the struggles of coming of age. And I think for her, her support system, because my father died when I was 9, so her support system became both of my grandmothers. But my grandmother in Pennsylvania, she was like, come have them come stay with me. And first it was my younger brother who went and stayed with my grandmother, which was really cool experience to kind of visit him over the summer. I'm like, oh, what Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania? What's this? This is like nothing to do out here. However, as we got older and as my mom felt it was in the best decision for, I think, her peace of mind, as well as just us not getting into trouble, to go live with my grandmother. And in 8th grade, we made that move. I think it was tough, but I look back on it, and that's what I think helped me kind of ground myself into, what I would become athletically, what I would become as far as, socially and all the things. So, really big thanks to my mom and my grandmother for the different sacrifices that they had to make. But then at the same time, the fun of, a new adventure, which was Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that was in 1985. As you said, your younger brother went ahead of you guys. Eventually, you're all together. Did it help that it was the three of you that you had each other to lean on during that time in this transition period for you?
I think it did. I think it was a scenario where you had somebody to lean on. You weren't feeling like you were alone, or you didn't have an understanding of. When I say didn't have an understanding, so anywhere you go, you want to quote unquote fit in. You want to feel accepted, and I think for me, it was one of those cases where you're looking around like, okay, I don't know who I can hang out with, and it's easy when you got your family there. And my brother and I, we graduated high school the same year, so we went through our grade school and high school together, and so I always had a friend. I always had somebody that I could hang with and chill out with. So that was really special. But yeah, the early time in Wilkes-Barre, I remember it was we were talking about this the other day. A dear friend of ours, Mr. McLeod, he had just recently passed away, and he was the only Black family that we got a chance to meet in a predominantly white area. And so we needed, obviously, our haircut. There was a barber who she would cut hair, Mrs. Collins, but sometimes she would make a mistake, and it was like, boy, we don't know. So Mr. McLeod would come over after church, and my grandmother, she was his mentor, he and his wife, and they had twins, daughters, and then they had a older boy, Nathan. And Nathan was, I think he was probably just like a in between myself and my younger brother age-wise, but it was that family dynamic that forged, just a strong sense of self, a strong bonding. He would always talk to us about college and college football, and I don't know. I remember the one conversation my brother and I were just recently having, and he was talking about, man, remember he was always talking about like, LSU and Dalton Hilliard, and he was a great running back in the day. And I was like, of course we didn't know. So, he would bring over the different, at that time, sports magazines, like, obviously SI was like the magazine. And so the groove of him kind of mentoring us and being a role model, a Black positive figure in our lives really helped out a lot. It's cool because there's these, like I said, it was such a pivotal point to move to Wilkes-Barre, but I think there were just so many people along the way that helped me from a boy to a man. And I'm forever grateful for those shared experiences.
Yeah, as you said, you lost your dad at a young age. You're a father now, so I'm sure the influence of somebody like that, you're seeing that now as a dad with your three kids as well.
I tell you what, there's nothing like being a father. It's my greatest joy. I have, the greatest of memories when they were younger, and, you were Teflon. They thought, you walked on water. Of course, as they get older, they challenge you, but the ages that they are now, my kids are adults, and it's really cool because now the conversations have shifted, and we have deeper level, more, world view conversations. But even in that, I'm so very proud of them. And even my brothers and I, we were so close that the nieces, the nephews, the cousins, the connectedness of our family is there. Like any family, we have our issues, and no family is perfect, and that's just life. But the fun of the adventure, I think, within the family dynamic for my kids, for my brother's kids, my younger brother's kids, my older sister and her daughter, my niece, she's closer in age to my brothers and I, so her kids are so stinking cute because they're so little, and she has some two older boys as well. But yeah, family. I think that's the theme. It's the connection that you have, and for me as a father, to be able to talk and give life lessons, and learn. And it's not always about me giving; it's about me understanding and being curious about my kids' lives too.
Well, that's great. And again, you talk about family, and you and your older brother, the Rocket, you guys played together football, and I know you ran track in high school as well. But let's talk about football at Meyers High School. You guys were outstanding together. What do you remember about those days, and what you were able to do, and the notoriety that you brought to that high school football team, and just the athletic program there during your time there?
Yeah, I tell you what, Meyers High School, which is now merged, there were 3 city schools in the Wyoming Valley. The Wilkes-Barre city was GAR, Grand Army Republic, or as we affectionately call, Garbage, Ashes, and Rubbish. All right, okay. Coughlin, and then obviously E.L. Myers. And they've now since combined, I think it was 2018 was when the merger started to take forth. And my time at Myers, it was awesome. My brother and I, we had no idea, the rich tradition of football in Pennsylvania. We just wanted to play and go out there and do what we do. We didn't know it was going to be, as large as we were going to be, because there were a lot of, men and women that came before us that, laid a good, strong foundation. Myers was a very accomplished academic and athletic school. And here we are, just 2 boys from Newark, New Jersey, kind of like looking around like, "Ooh, boy, what's going on?" But again, I look at, people who, made a difference in my life. Marguerite Latinsky, my 8th grade English teacher, who played a critical role in me helping me get into Syracuse. Mr. Forsini, our guidance counselor. You gotta pardon me. I'm holding back from choking up because every time I tell these stories, it flashes me back, and I'm right there in the moment. And I look then, and I look at present day, and I'm like, I just have nothing but gratitude. So I apologize. I'm not trying to be sappy. It's just, Mr. Forsini, he was amazing in that he saw these 2 black boys who came from, Newark, New Jersey, brings us down to his office, and, he asks a series of questions. He brings in another kid who was, getting an academic scholarship to Harvard, and he was another cool part of another cool black family in Newark, New Jersey, or I'm sorry, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, the Lots, and Paul, Greg, were just cool dudes. And again, the way in which they talked about going to college and it can be a reality. And, I cherished the time. Yes. The rival games against, GAR or Coughlin or Wyoming Valley West or, Tunkhannock or Pittston area, all those different schools in the Valley that we played against. And I have people come up to me to today, and they have their own vivid memories. They've passed it down to their kids, which I'm like, man, I'm walking and thinking, I'm well past the age of, you remembering anything. And next thing you know, kids are telling me, oh, my dad would tell me about you. Oh my God. I'm like, oh, all righty then, which is cool. And I say that with all due respect because it's the forging of those relationships, friendships, life experiences that is humbling and gives me pause to say how fortunate and how blessed I was to have, key people in my life make a profound impact on my life.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing those stories and those people. Obviously, it's, they've had a great effect on you and helped forge you in the person that you are today. Again, at Meyers, it was football, and it was also track as well, which I can see the smile on your face. You're proud of that fact. You were a state champion in track in multiple sports as well. What was it about track? Why did you like that? Because eventually you ran track at Syracuse, you coached track at high school as well. So that's a sport that a lot of people don't often talk about, but obviously it was something that you excelled in.
Literally, we were on a ski trip. I think it was to Elk Mountain, and my track experience started after a simple conversation I had with my brother. He was like, hey, Kadri, how come you didn't go do lifting this morning? Coach Gorm, our head coach, big imposing figure, like 6'4", 250, 260, just, Coach Gorm's like, oh, boy, I hope I don't get in trouble. Well, he was saying, hey, where's your brother at, Rock? He's like, he's on a ski trip. He goes, skiing? Tell your brother if he doesn't get in and start working out, he's going to be on the offensive line. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm not playing no line. So I went out for spring track in 8th grade. That turned into just this unbelievable passion to, run the hurdles. Again, not knowing that I was going to blow up the way I did, but sure enough, it went to a scenario where 9th grade, I had some success. 10th, I qualified for states. I finished 3rd in the state. And then from that point forward, I remember I tell this story to my athletes when every year, this is probably my 10th or 11th year of coaching track at Pattersonville High School. And, every year I tell them, like, listen, guys, it's not that I am telling you for the fishtail stories. And obviously I feel good about what I've done. I'll say that for my grandkids when I have them. But I am telling you because I have some shared experiences. You haven't been where I'm at. I've been where you're at. I've been a freshman. I've been a sophomore. I know what it's like to be a senior. I know what it's like to go through trials, semis, quarters, and finals. I know what it's like when you're dying in practice and it pays off in the end. I know how to cut practice. I know how to manipulate and think that I'm getting away with it when my coach really knows that, Kadri, you're not doing anything new under the sun. So either you're going to trust in the system of what I'm trying to tell you, or you're going to go ahead and be one of those kids that are going to come back years later and be disappointed in the fact that you didn't maximize your potential. So in telling that, when I look back on my time, I tell them, I said, my sophomore year, I finished 3rd in the state, and I thought, wow, that was really cool. I didn't make it to the finals in the 300 hurdles. That's okay. 4x1, we didn't even make it out of the trials. So I'm like, we're good. We won our district, and I was a district champion. I think I had like maybe, was it three or four golds or something like that. Well, but then I realized that wasn't enough. Like, okay, what have you done for me lately? And I never lost again when it came to the hurdles. Didn't matter the race, didn't matter if it was cold, didn't matter if it was hot, and I finished the #1 schoolboy hurdler in America by Track and Field News. So when you tap into your potential and who knows what your journey is going to be, you're going to have people help you along the way to keep you accountable, and that's cool. But between your ears is where you need to hone in your craft, because mentally, if you can see it, if you can talk about it and really set forth a plan of action to maximize your potential, then you're going to have success. And I think my track and field experiences from high school carried over onto the football field when I was, at a time where I was struggling. Let's not get it twisted. I wasn't jealous of my brother, but my brother far and away physiologically was the better athlete, and he just blossomed on the football field. And it took me a while. It took me to probably my senior year. Here we go, getting all emotional again. Senior year, my first game was against this team called Crestwood. Yeah. And Crestwood, literally, they had the year before, we played well. My brother got hurt. I got moved to tailback. I wasn't able to do what I needed to do to finish the game and play well enough. They wound up beating us. They had a really good year. Hats off to them. My senior year comes around. They're at our place. We're on, that old school carpet turf, not the synthetic kind now, but we had that old school carpet turf at Meyers High School. And I remember a couple of my boys, we were all on the turf just kind of, doing our thing and visualizing. My junior year of track, I mean, when I tell you I blew it up, like I won everything. And I remember going to districts. Boom, not only won, set the district record. 300-meter hurdles, set the district record. 4x1, our team set the district record. 4x4, we blew away the competition. I'm a four-time district medalist, gold medalist, go down to states. We're sitting there, and next thing you know, we're in the hunt for a state championship. I win gold in the 110-meter high hurdles, win gold in the 300-meter high hurdles. 4x1, we win gold and take the state record. Now we're in great position to potentially win the entire states. What do? We go out there 4x1 or 4x4, last race of the day, and literally had probably one of my toughest races ever. But I wind up getting our team. I think I had like a 15-meter come from behind, going down the final stretch, and the kid ran a phenomenal race. He outleaned me to the tape, so I finished with 3 gold and a silver. And literally, that Crestwood night before crescendo was one where I was like, okay, today is the day. I'm mentally locked in. You're not going to stop me. And I remember my one teammate, Brian Dwyer, is like, hey, man, what if we're just so good we don't punt? I was like, I don't know what that means, but I guess that's a good thing. Sure enough, we went out there, and I was like, I don't care if I have 2 carries or 10 carries. I am going to be so dialed into this game. I don't care if my role is to be blocking for my brother. I'm going to be the best fullback blocking dude ever. And we're going to do this. And sure enough, my brother first play of the game scores. Which is, it's hilarious. Everyone blocked. The play was called I Right 56. It was an off-tackle play. Raghib and our quarterback, Jeff Namey, both heard I Right 57. They were the only 2 that ran 57. We all blocked 56. My brother still scored. It was the craziest thing. And I remember that game where I was like, there was a couple of times they gave me the rock and I would get hit. And I was like, not today. And I mean, peeling myself off, guys that were trying to tackle me. You couldn't bring me down. I finally utilized my speed and contributed as well. I think I scored a couple times, whatever. But it was just that year. And a lot of it, again, transitioning from my track experiences, molded me to help me as far as my football.
Yeah, you were the 1988 Athlete of the Year, Citizens Voice. The Times leader named you that. And you mentioned Raghib and your younger brother, Sulaiman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got the rocket, you've got the missile, you've got the bomb. Who gave you guys the names? When did that take place that you guys got those nicknames?
So Raghib, Qadry, and Sulaiman, all three names are not hard to pronounce, but for whatever reason, people had difficulty. Well, Raghib, my track coach, Boss Cross, we were in 8th grade, and Raghib was going up against these seniors in 0 to 10 starts, and he was beating them. And so, Boss, he talked like this. He was like, man, hey, he's fast. Oh, he's lightning. Ha ha. He's like a rocket in a pocket. And sure enough, the seniors are like, Rocket, Rocket, all right. So they dubbed him Rocket, and it stuck. And my nickname in high school was GQ. I was very social, liking of girls and hanging and chilling, and it wasn't anything all shady or nothing. But, yeah, I had a lot of friends that were girls. So, GQ fit. Well, my mom was like, okay, my son is blowing up at Notre Dame. I'm up at Syracuse. I'm watching Notre Dame take on, I think it was Purdue. I'm not exactly sure the team, but I think it was Purdue. And Andrea Joyce was the this is Ismail. So, your son, Raghib is such a phenomenal athlete. Now, they nicknamed him the Rocket. What you have 2 other sons, what are their nicknames? She goes, well, Andrea, my son, of course, as you said, is the Rocket. My other son, his nickname is the Missile, and my youngest is the Bomb, and I am affectionately called the Launching Pad. Well, that you talk about viral back in the day when viral wasn't viral, but it went viral. Like my nickname from that point forward, Mom dubs you Missile, you're gonna be a missile. There it is.
There you go. Your mom, your best publicist right there. She's good for marketing. Good job, Mom.
Yes.
Well, again, you had that nickname. You had the talent. You go to Syracuse. What was that recruitment like? Dick McPherson was the coach here at the time. You played for him for 2 years. You played for Paul Pasqualoni your last 2 years, and not only football but track as well. So, were you going there as a dual sport athlete at the time?
Yeah. So the recruiting process opened up, and this is a real quick story to transition into that. When I was at States, again, everything seemed like track really molded everything because Ron Dickerson Sr. was the defensive coordinator for Joe Paterno and the Penn State Nittany Lions. His son, Ron Dickerson Jr., was a long jumper for the AAA State College High School track team. So he's out there in AAA. We're in AA. We don't necessarily meet head-to-head. We kind of talked a little bit when we were doing some stuff indoors, so we kind of, knew each other. His dad, obviously there supporting the son, and he's seeing these kids running. For me, everything is judged on the speed of my brother. I, in my mind, think, well, I'm fast, but I ain't that fast, so whatever. I'm walking off the track, and Ron Dickerson Sr. comes over to me. He's like, hey, you had a really good meet, young man. I was like, oh, thank you, Coach. He goes, no, I'm serious. I think we need to talk. I'm going to tell Joe about you. And I was like, okay, there's only one Joe. We all know Joe Paterno, Nittany Lions. my hometown, Wilkes-Barre, loves them some Nittany Lions. So I was like, all right, cool. So literally, Penn State starts recruiting me. I don't know how, but the entire Eastern Seaboard literally started getting letters from everybody. You name it, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Maryland, Syracuse, Boston College, Temple, Pitt. The letters came in. North Carolina State. They just kept coming, and I was just impressed. So bottom line, my mindset was one where I felt like, the bigger picture was the catalyst. And then when I finally decided on Syracuse, my mindset was Coach McPherson. He said that as long as my strength coach was comfortable with me, participating in the winter workouts, I could do whatever I want to do. And so I sat down with my coach, Mike Wysick, who is arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, strength and conditioning coach to ever coach. Goodness gracious, you talk about, he's the Tom Brady of strength coaches. And with that said, he's like, Kadri, you're weak and pathetic. You gotta get stronger. But here's the thing. I was a thrower, and I think track is great. You're going to go out there, and you're going to go and run. But you're also going to lift my lifts. I was like, okay, coach. So I go ahead, and now I'm jumping on into both Syracuse track as well as participating in spring football. And then as soon as spring football is over with, I'm back out there on the track, and I was very thankful that the qualifications to qualify for nationals indoor wasn't a big deal because I didn't have to do pretty much. I did nothing winter workout wise. Only thing that they had me commit to was, I think it was only like 1 day a week where we would get together as a team, and that was it. And then, like I said, spring practice, I try to qualify as fast as I could before I got into spring practice, because then obviously football is a contact collision sport, so you get beat up, and then you go back out for track, you're like, oh God. But yeah, those are some fun times to kind of go back and forth, kept me mentally in it as far as, academically as well as just socially and everything. I think it was really cool that I was able to do both.
Yeah, you've got to be very disciplined to be able to do that, play one sport in college, let alone two sports, and to excel as you did. I mean, you were the first two-sport All-American at Syracuse since Jim Brown in 1957. You were an All-American hurdler, All-American kick return in 1991. I mean, if you go to Syracuse, you play football, and you mention Jim Brown next to your name, that's pretty good. I mean, again, I see the smile on your face. I mean, what was it about that? And is that something still a point of pride for you?
Heck yeah. Man, are you kidding me? Jim Brown was that of legend. Like, the legend of 44 was one thing, but then you talk about Jim Brown, the greatest lacrosse player to ever play. You bad when they change the rules of the game for you to level out the playing field. You bad when you can just, jump out there on the track, kick ass. You're bad when you can beat all the wrestlers. You're a badass when you can just, I go out there on the football field and whoop up on dudes too. He was just unbelievable. And to just even do two sports, let alone the multiple that he did. But I'm like, yeah, that's a humbling honor to be in that select company. And again, it is one where it's a full-time job. College athletics is not, people, I do sports performance training for a living, as well as all the media work that I do. I get athletes and parents talk all the time on what they are asking me to help their kid. And I'm like, look, I don't mind, but you got to be realistic on what you think your expectation is on playing at the next level. I am telling you right now, the coach at the next level does not care about you. Let's say that again. They don't care. All they care about is making sure this teenager and young adult does what they need to do, takes advantage of it, and wins. Because if they don't win, the alumni, the people that are, writing out those big fat checks and all the other things, somebody's going to have to be held accountable. If I don't care if it's the men's team or the women's team, and I don't care if whatever it might be, but if you ain't getting it done, you're going to be seeing the athletic director or the team or the school president, and you're going to be having a short-lived collegiate coaching experience. So if you have that understanding in your mind, I think that's where for an athlete you can truly hone in and do what you feel you need to do, which is be responsible for yourself. And yeah, of course, you're going to forge some good relationships with some coaches. I'm not saying that they're evil, but you just got to know where you stand. You stand as they don't care. And if you understand that, then I think that's where, don't hate the player, hate the game. Well, go out there and let the game take advantage, and you take advantage of the rules of play.
Well, you didn't have to worry about losing during your time at Syracuse, especially on the football field. I mean, the program back then, you went to 4 bowl games, a lot less bowls at that time than there are now, so it was harder to get in those bowl games. As a senior, you went to the Fiesta Bowl. You guys were ranked 6th in the nation. I mean, it was a different time for Syracuse football. But what do you remember most and all the success that you had? And again, that transition going from Coach McPherson to Coach Pasqualoni.
Well, I think so many seminal moments. I think is a theme of this podcast talk. I think one thing for me was the seminal moment of at the Aloha Bowl in Hawaii. Coach McPherson kind of gave a harsh dose of reality to some play that was going on by some of the receivers, and it's not that I was good. I just didn't come into my own. Again, once you understand what you need to do, you best go ahead and make a plan to do it, because they don't care. They're going to recruit that next kid, and that next kid's going to be taking your job. And for me, I felt like I needed to really do something. If the transfer portal existed in my day, that Aloha Bowl experience, I might have been like, oh, I'm out of here. Well, Coach Pasqualoni takes over. Coach McPherson goes to New England. And for me, it became one of those things where I was like, wow, I got a clean slate. I can do what I need to do. The offensive coordinator was still the same, but like I felt like I had a renewed sense about where I was at. And bruh, I mean, I had my best spring practice ever. And just, again, track was a key kind of motivator. I went into my indoor season and felt amazing and strong. I carried that sucker over into spring football practice. I think, LL Cool J's Jam, Mama Said Knock You Out was a hit back then. Bruh. That thing was on repeat, and we had our little, CDs after the cassette went the way of the dinosaur. But that CD, one of the advantages was that you could put it on repeat, and of course, going to the dome to practice, man, you just blasting it and getting out and just having a great practice. I think set me up for my camp and going into training camp. Coach Pasqualoni was like, I don't really care. You just go out there and do what you do. And, he was a no-nonsense coach, which I respected. But, I remember, like, this is it. Again, like at Crestwood, I had that same kind of thought and feeling like, not today. Today is the day you ain't doing it. Watch. And sure enough, it was just one big play after another big play. Whatever you thought I was, ain't it. we about to have this thing. And my confidence grew. I go into the first game of the year, was against Vanderbilt. And I remember the first third down play, I think it was 3rd and 7, but it could have been like 3rd and 3. You know how your memory kind of gets all shooken up. But it was 228 special was the very first pass that I caught. And from that point forward, I remember turning upfield, and I think I ran like 15, 16 yards. And I mean, I was just having a game. I had a couple of other catches in that game that were like contested catches, and I mean just snatching the ball away from the defender. I remember I was like thinking, I felt like I was Forrest Gump, where it's like, oh, hi, how are you? Like I was just like, la, la, la. And so there was, I remember my one teammate, Antonio, he was like, Kadri, Q. I was like, yo, what's up? He's like, I'm subbing you out. And I was like, well, all right. Kind of like Forrest, like, all right. I'm running in or run over to the sideline. And like, all the coaches look at each other like, no, stay in. So the other receiver goes out. I go back in. I'm listening to the play, and it's a reverse. Well, I'm like, oh, we gonna do this today. Sure enough, I get the reverse, and I go around a corner. I call upon my inner Raghib Ismail, and I see a lane, and I mean, I made a beeline to the end zone, scored, and I think I had like a series of maybe 6 or 7, maybe 7 or 8 games, whatever it was, of just big play after big play after big play after big play. And again, like I was in Forrest Gump mode. I was like, I don't know, I don't care. I'm just going out here to practice, whatever. Little did I know, people were like buzzing about, wow, this is the Rockets' brother. What's going on? Wow, he is really killing it. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just out here just playing. But that was kind of like my mindset. Like my head was down. I'm like, I'm going out there. I'm practicing. I'm working my butt off. I'm gonna prepare. It doesn't matter. There were some other receivers that came before me that were my mentors, and I always respected how hard they worked. And I was like, man, I'm gonna be just like them. I'm just gonna focus in. When it's time to do our conditioning at the end of practice, I don't care if I'm tired. I don't care. I don't care anymore. Going out there and always striving to be at least top 3 minimum. Nobody else is gonna beat me, and I'm coming in first, or you had a good one. But that was my mentality, and that's what I think helped give me the confidence to play that well.
Yeah, certainly an outstanding year. It was the Big East at the time, the early days of the Big East. You were all Big East, 1991, 1992, going up against Miami. As I said, you went to the Fiesta Bowl. You beat Colorado in that Fiesta Bowl, which was really the high water mark of the time there. Such great players. Again, I know some of those folks, our friends, will be watching this here. Again, the Syracuse memories. And after that, again, you made a name for yourself. Your mom did with the missile. You ended up getting drafted. 1993, drafted 2nd round, 52nd overall by the Vikings. What was your thought? Because the coach at the time there was a late Dennis Green. So in your pro career, you played for some really good coaches. We're going to get to some of those. But what was your thought getting drafted by the Vikings and having that opportunity to play at the next level?
So I had no idea where Minnesota was. I had to look it up on a map. Couldn't just, go ahead and go on your device. What device? You didn't have devices back then. You just kind of like, all right, hey, where's the map at? Where's Minnesota? And yeah, no, I enjoyed my time, in Minnesota. Really learned an awful lot about myself. The one thing I'm disappointed in myself in that time, it just took me a while to learn what it was to be a pro, to learn what it was to show up, day in and day out. I talked about my time at Syracuse and, what I felt I did and accomplished. But, some of the guys that, I was teammates with, whether it been Warren Moon or, Jim McMahon in my first year, he scored my first touchdown against the Packers, which was him. But, game winners, going up and making plays, sending games into overtime, just realizing that I can play, but just never really. I think there was just times where I was inconsistent. The times where I was on point and making game winners, that was great. But there were other times where I look back on it and I'm like, man, if I would have just concentrated more and just honed in on my craft more, what could have, should have been. And this isn't wishful thinking. This isn't, just negative talk. This is just, yeah. So I think my time in Minnesota was fun, amazing, enjoyed the city. I think I partnered up with off the field with drug abuse resistance education, which was DARE and local law enforcement. And my God, man, I went back, into my storage unit and looked at some of the different fan mails that I gotten over the years. And there's a whole generation of Minneapolis, greater Minneapolis, St. Paul area kids that I had spoken to that are, adults now with kids of their own, I'm sure. But my God, man, I mean, thousands, like where I spoke so much and really honed in, I think, again, my craft as far as media and as far as what I wanted to do post-playing career. So, a lot of good memories, but for sure on the field, just kind of an incomplete feeling of what I could have, should have, would have done in Minnesota.
All right. So Minnesota, 1993 to 1996. Chris Carter was one of your teammates, fellow wide receiver, now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What kind of a influence and effect did he have on your career? And did as you said, you look back and maybe have some regrets, but did he help you along the way and maybe get you to that next level with your game?
If I'm being honest, it was both good and bad.
Okay.
The good, let me start with the bad.
Okay.
The bad, he was extremely narcissistic, alpha male who had his own demons that he overcame, and rightly so. Looked really good as far as his life journey. Obviously, alcoholism and drug abuse was prevalent in his early time at Ohio State, and then obviously in the pros. Then obviously he got a chance of redemption at Minnesota. And then he, in the offense, Brian Billick, I think, really helped him, blossom. But for me, I didn't need a guy to I'm not an alpha. I'm definitely not a beta. I would consider myself more of a sigma male, where the characteristics of a sigma male is one where, bro, I don't need to show you who I am. I don't need to puff up my chest, but I will. I don't need to walk around and flash and be the center of attention. But if you need me to help you, I will. I can serve you, but I can also lead. Those are the characteristics that I would say, and I don't think in Chris's narcissism he had that capability, and that's where I think it was frustrating to see, and it played out not just with Kadri. So this isn't like some kind of, Kadri has sour grapes. Sometimes the keyboard warriors they have their own trauma experiences, and then all of a sudden they start writing their little thing. And like, nah, bro, that's not it. So there were other guys I think he rubbed the wrong way, and I'll let them tell their own stories. The bottom line, I think, for me was one where the good was Chris was an extremely competitive person, a guy that just wanted to win, and that was what made him a Hall of Famer. You took from him the game within the game. He had just this uncanny sense of knowing the game and just sensing the moment and why it was so important to do whatever. It could be third down, and Chris just knew they were going to play this certain coverage, and he would break off his route and just get open, and it would always seem to work. He was such a gamer, just a fierce competitor and a tireless worker. I loved that about him. I loved the way people say Odell Beckham Jr. with his one-hand catching. Before Odell, before Ashley Lee, there was another kid who played in the league after me. Really great body awareness as well. Before all them dudes, there was Chris Carter. Phenomenal hands. Just didn't matter if it was low, didn't matter if it was high, didn't matter if it was out of bounds. His body kinesthetic awareness was a 10, and a 10 out of 10. And the way in which he was able to always be in position to make plays was remarkable, and that's something that I respected and loved about my time working with Chris.
Yeah, again, there until 1996 with the Vikings. Bounced around a little bit. Some of your coaches, Jimmy Johnson, played 3 games at Miami for Jimmy Johnson. Dan Marino was your quarterback. 10 games with the Saints. Mike Ditka was the head coach in 1998. And then 99 to 2001. It seemed like you kind of maybe found a home once again with Baltimore. You mentioned Brian Billick, who was with the Vikings, now the head coach with the Baltimore Ravens. Did you feel like, once you got to Baltimore, this was kind of maybe home for you? And in a sense, you had grown into that position, into that role that you had in the NFL, that many years into it?
So I look at guys like Chris Carter and Andre Hastings, and I think there's some ways in which they, again, personality-wise, being alphas and being narcissists that, you're kind of like, that ain't me. But I also look at some other guys who, my brother Raghib, when he was with the Carolina Panthers, him and Mushin Muhammad. I look at, guys who, O.J. McDuffie, my time down in Miami. O.J., well, I consider him a Sigma male kind of a guy where, that dude, you talk about catching. Oh, my God, that dude just – he would drop an F-bomb if he dropped a pass, but the way he would do it, it was like such a deep voice. And then all of a sudden, you just lock back in, and in the next 200 balls, you ain't seeing drop not one. And it would carry over into the game, too. Those men molded me and got me ready to say, again, the phrase that I kept seemingly coming about, which was, I don't care. I never saw such a powerful, imposing figure in Jimmy Johnson be so attuned to everything, and at the same time, an amazingly positive, awesome coach. Just phenomenal. And it forced me out of my comfort zone. I, with all due respect, appreciate the time down in New Orleans, but the worst coaching staff ever assembled was down in New Orleans. So it made me appreciate what good coaching is and what preparation really truly means, both as a player and as a coach. Without question, when I got to Baltimore, Brian Billick, Ozzie Newsome, that defense and offensive staff assembled, the way in which Brian interacted and gave us the freedom to be men, again, not today, was my phrase. And I was like, you ain't cutting me. You ain't getting me off this team. I'm going to be the go-to guy, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how good I am. I'm going to show you that I can play this game. I don't care what anybody on the other side of the football field who lines up against me might say or think or whatever. I know who I am, and I'm about to do this. And so mentally, I came into my own yet again, and just felt like you're just, you picked the wrong day to go ahead and doubt me and doubt my abilities. And I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I loved the way in which, we were as a team. I love the fact that, I had an opportunity to play and to play extremely well.
And I love your honesty and, again, talking with some of your experiences here with us. And let's talk about 2000. Again, with the Ravens, Trent Dilfer, the quarterback, Jamal Lewis, running back, Shannon Sharpe, tight end. Obviously, the defense was outstanding with Ray Lewis, the middle linebacker, Hall of Famer as well, that was leading the defense. Could you tell early on that there was something special about that team?
Not necessarily. I think every team early on has these high expectations. I think fan bases, team owners, unless you're, maybe the Bengals, or the Cleveland Browns, or the Arizona Cardinals, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before Tony Dungy. Gee, all those teams, they were sucky. Anyway, I digress. The Jets. Let's not forget the Jets, too. Them, too. Yeah. New England before Bill Belichick. Yeah. There are some teams and organizations, they don't care about anything. Preseason, postseason, whatever. They just cut us a check. We'll take the money and go. But there's these teams that are the upper echelon that we've seen over the years, and players and coaches that set a standard. And I think, one thing about this organization called the Baltimore Ravens, they were a new organization, but they had an owner in Art Modell that I think it was a culture shift, and I loved and thoroughly enjoyed every bit of my time there. It was just special. Guys just loved being around each other as far as in the locker room. I've played with so many Hall of Fame guys, and I've learned from so many of them and what they've done. My time in Minnesota, my time in, obviously down in Miami, and my time obviously in New Orleans. Although, my teammate Willie Rolfe, left tackle, he's in the Hall of Fame. My time obviously in Baltimore, my as a fan of the game, but also as my favorite all-time teammate who is in the Hall of Fame. Again, I'm getting choked up, but is Shannon Sharpe, because Shannon he was the alpha male without the narcissism. Shannon was extremely confident. Shannon was loud. Shannon was the best teammate ever. Dude, give you some wisdom, you listening. Little piece of wisdom that stuck with me that I think helped prepare me to be the go-to guy, both in 99, 2000, and then in 2001. But that 2000 Super Bowl team, that run, Shannon had this, he would say few words and it would mean a lot. And it would carry so much weight. I'm sitting up in the front, as I always do, taking notes. But I'm like, I know this offense, and I'm kind of bored, and I'm nodding off. Shannon kind of, he was sitting next to me. He kind of nudged me. He goes, "Hey, Q, hey, if you sleep, everybody going to be sleeping. Hey, come on, let's take some notes." I was like, oh, my God, Shannon Sharpe. If he stayed awake, how much more so should I? Man, you better go ahead and get your butt up and stand up, take some coffee, whatever you need to do. Homeboy just called you out, but the way he called me out was with, the utmost encouragement. And I'm forever grateful. And then when we be in the heat of a game, you go, hey, Q, we need to make a play. And there was a touchdown against the Dallas Cowboys. He had scored in that game, but then it was a critical point in the game where we needed to really make a play. And we're in a huddle. He goes, "Hey, Q, I need you to make a play." Literally, that next play, I'm going down the field, and Trent Dilfer throwing me the ball, and I go up against, I think it was Felipe Sparks, and I come down with it 2 feet in. They go ahead, give me the touchdown, and I snatched the ball away from him. The game against the Chargers, same thing. He was like, "Hey, we need to help out Trent." And that's all he needed to tell me. Trent tells me what to do. I go down the field, and again, same spot in the end zone and everything, and I wind up scoring again. But that's where, again, the power of that mentorship, the power of influence in a positive way, Shannon called it out, and both times in key moments, I just scored, and I loved it. It was fun. It was amazing. It was what I needed. But it was also, again, that mindset for me was not today. And my preparation was so locked in that, again, this is where I say, when I'm speaking to my high school kids and when I'm speaking to my collegiates that I'm training, y'all haven't been where I'm at. You don't know what it's like to go ahead and, excuse me for choking up again, but you don't know what it's like to fumble the ball when you're in rec league football in a championship. But you don't know what it's like to come back and get benched as a freshman. You don't know what it's like to get benched as a sophomore. You don't know what it's like to go ahead and bust it out, but still don't place in an event in the hurdles. You don't know what it's like to have people in the Carrier Dome looking at you sideways like you can't play and you suck. You don't know what it's like when you in the pros and you sitting there and you getting berated by one of your teammates and you're like, man, I need to go ahead and punch the heck out of this dude, but if I do, I'm gonna lose my job. You don't know what it's like when you sitting there under pressure, you dropping the ball, and then all of a sudden the media comes hard down on you, or other teammates are like, man, what you're not good. You don't know what it's like when you sitting there and you're like, man, I don't think I'm gonna make this ball club. I think I'm gonna be inactive again, or I'm not gonna even have any statistics to speak of. You don't know those experiences. So you can either listen and understand what it takes to overcome said experiences, or you can go ahead and figure it out yourself. What you want to do?
Well, you certainly were very coachable. You listen, as you said. It seemed like you didn't want to let Shannon Sharpe down. Didn't want to let your teammates down. You win that Super Bowl again in 2000. 2001, you mentioned that probably your best year with the Ravens, career highs, 74 receptions, 7 touchdowns, and then you backed up Marvin Harrison with the Colts. That's how your career ended? This is a former Syracuse teammate of yours. He was younger than you. And then I guess you kind of come full circle here and back him up. What was that experience like? He's another guy that you play with who's in the Hall of Fame now.
Yeah, again, I was very thankful and blessed to have played with some greats. And Marvin is right up there with him. Marvin, I mean, that dude can play. Like, he just so incredibly smooth and just on point. And Peyton and him had the chemistry, like there's chemistry and then there's chemistry. They could, they just had it. They had that gift. They had that it factor. For me, Marvin, his work ethic was second to none. Again, you talk about, again, I said those alpha males. Marvin was as quiet could be. So he had a little Sigma male in him as well. He didn't really care. Try to impress you. That just wasn't his thing. He was just going to go out there and do his thing. With all that said, fierce competitor, just incredibly high football IQ. But my time there, I had C3, C4 neck fusion ultimately, which I had to retire, but my neck was flaring up and I felt like, man, here I am. The game is slowed down. Nothing really surprises me. And, had to shut it down. But, yeah, playing with Marvin, playing with Peyton, obviously Edgerrin James, Hall of Famer, Jeff Saturday, our center, all those dudes, man, them dudes, that was a fun locker room. We had some really good, strong personalities, but everybody really had a good, strong respect for one another. And it was good to go to work. And obviously the culture was set up because of one Tony Dungy. And, that was my second stint with him. My first one obviously was in Minnesota when he was the D coordinator. But yeah, man, I'm telling you that I was very thankful to have played my time there in Indianapolis.
I mean, when it's all said and done, 10 years, I mean, not everybody has a 10-year NFL career. You did, as you said, a lot of Hall of Famers, a lot of great coaches you were with, and a Super Bowl as well. I mean, when you look back at it now, and I'm sure as you talk to your kids, I mean, you've got to be proud of what you were able to accomplish. As you said, not always easy for you, but to play 10 years and to be a Super Bowl champ, there's a lot of guys. You play with Dan Marino, one of the best quarterbacks ever. He doesn't have a Super Bowl ring, but you do.
One of the things that I cherish every year, Super Bowl-wise and otherwise, is this, that once you get to the game, you look on it and you recognize what select company it is to get there and then to win it. That's what makes what I look at with Tom Brady unreal. I thought Joe Montana set the bar. He surpassed it times 10. I mean, multiple guys who have had multiple championships, whether it be Charles Haley's of the world, obviously the way in which they just keep winning and sustain winning, to be in that select group of men to say, yeah, I won a Super Bowl championship. It's special, and it comes with privilege. And I've been on many a golf course where some tee times are a little tight. All of a sudden now, come on, Qadry Ismail, Super Bowl champion. What is that? Oh, Mr. Ismail, come on, we're gonna move that group over to the back nine, and you guys ready to go? Yes, we are ready to go. Thank you, good sir. Appreciate you. Oh, Kadri, I'm up in New York City. New York City, come on now. City never sleeps, the whole 9 yards. I'm sitting down at dinner. I mean, you have met every person in the gosh doggone world, in the city. Oh, well, hey, aren't you? Hi, how are you? Yes. Yes, having that ring, it goes a long way. And I have story after story after story. And it's a blessing to play in the National Football League, a blessing to get those relationships forged with some really good, strong men. And then at the same time to sit back and to reminisce on it. It's really, really cool.
We're running out of some time here. I want to get to what you're doing now. I know you do a lot of different things, or several different things. Tell our viewers, our listeners, what you're doing right now and how maybe they can follow you a little bit.
Yeah, so I do sports performance training primarily. It's a passion of mine. Obviously, I'm a head high school coach for our track and field boys and girls. But from a sports performance standpoint, I recognize that there's a better way to move, and the acronym Greatest of All Time Actions stands for is GOTA, and so I've become a student of GOTA and really understood how to move correctly. Which, when I now see it, a lot of those Hall of Famers that I talked about, they had those GOTA type principles just naturally in them. Marvin Harrison just had it in him. And it keeps you from being injured and broken down. That being said, it doesn't really matter if you're an athlete or not. I work with a variety of people. My morning clientele typically are working people who are trying to up their fitness. And so it's really cool to impart into them better movement and having them see that better movement come into play. So that's really cool. At the same time, when I look at my media aspect of things, it's about being in what I call my back chain, being back chain dominant with all of my work. Media-wise, from BET to NBC to ESPN to the Ravens as their broadcasts, 5, 6 different shows over the years, to being on their broadcast team, to WBAL, to now current day doing WJZ, the regional Baltimore CBS affiliate, and I have 3 shows on there that I get a chance to do with Mark Viviano, Rick Ritter, and a host of other guys. But we have a blast talking Ravens, pre-game, post-game. We've traveled with to the different cities and stuff, and talked and broke some great news and the whole nine. So my passion is there as far as media-wise. My passion is there helping people move better. People can easily follow me on I am Qadry Ismail on Twitter. They can DM me if they want to reach out as far as training, and I do virtual training, so it doesn't really matter where you're at in the country. And then at the same time, I think my phone, I have the backbone where mother of pearl. Like my time up at ESPN, you get on that black book list where every producer, they come a calling. Well, they've come a calling many a time. So I'm sure, if there needs to be some experience on understanding whatever Raven related, I'm there for you as well.
Well, I want to leave on this. Again, you mentioned you and your brothers. If you guys race now, foot race right now, who wins right now? Do you guys, do you talk some junk, and who would win?
Let me say it this way. About 4 years ago, I was down in Dallas for the Ravens preseason game, Ravens broadcast, whatever, and it's a really light schedule preseason, So we're there, Dallas. It's a night game. I go over to my brother, like, yo, man, let's do a workout. I'm in shape, bro. I am in shape. Homeboy got the dad bod going on. He's like, yeah, Kadri, we're just going to do some walking, and we're going out to the local park down in my neighborhood. And we'll go there. We'll do some things. You can show me some things to do. I was like, yeah, bro, I got you. That's shape talking about. And I started walking. I was like, Qadry Ismail, I'm the missile now. What's up? All them years you was whooping up on me, homeboy outwalked a brother. It's not funny. I was like, how the hell he gonna outwalk me? So my confidence was shattered a little bit there. Confidence was shattered. I'm okay though. I'm okay. Just gonna go ahead and hang up the phone now and act like this whole thing never happened.
Well, I'm sorry. I thought I was going to end on a high note here. I guess I went on the opposite direction. All right. Well, we'll leave it there, Kadri. Again, I thank you so much for spending time with us, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me on as always.
All right. Thank you. Hold on one second. Wow, what a story there from Qadry Ismail. My thanks to him for joining us here today in episode number 19. Such great stories and memories of his career. Some honest takes from his career as well. And once again, a Super Bowl champ back in 2000 with the Baltimore Ravens. Our thanks as well for the highlights that you saw from JSN Highlights. Thank you for providing those for us here today. And we thank you for watching us. If you like what you saw, make sure you like this podcast and subscribe to our channel. We have more great guests coming up. Again, next week will be our 20th episode. Unbelievable. But this one, episode number 19, Qadry Ismail, we appreciate him joining us and you watching it and listening to it here today. We'll see you next time for another edition of In the Front Row with Mike Vaccaro. Have a great day, everybody.